made in Buenos Aires. That was the first one, and perhaps from a public perspective, that was the one that probably got the most interest. But normally there's sort of one big decision per Congress, but this time there were three. Anyone know what the other ones were? One was that the final one was that there's a new president of the IOC. Anyone know who that is?
Spanish?
Huh?
Spanish runner?
No? No. You think you know?
No, but it's just the other one before, was it Jack?
So Jack Rogge has been in since 2000, yep, so
Yeah.
Jack Rogge. I think his legacy will be as a fairly, certainly probably lower profile than some of his predecessors. I think more people will probably know Juan Antonio Samaranch than would know the name Jack Rogge, despite the fact Samaranch stepped down 12 years ago. But Rogge was a more low-key figure, but was seen as probably a very efficient, has led the IOC quite well. But the new guy is Thomas Bach, who's a German. So a former athlete, Rogge was a former athlete, was a sailor, Bach was, I believe, a fencer, and he won quite convincingly as well. There was about, I think, seven candidates in the field. So again, no one quite knows what his leadership style is going to be, how he's going to push the Olympic Games, because the president actually has quite a lot of power in terms of shaping agendas. So is he going to push towards a more commercialised games? Because that was something some of his critics said, that he was too close to Olympic sponsors and to the money side of the IOC, and whether that might be to the detriment of Olympism as a philosophy and what the Games are trying to achieve through that. So that was a really interesting case study. So that's going to be an ongoing one. That's one that no one's quite sure what's going to happen with that. And then the third decision was about the Olympic program in terms of what sports are going to be on the Olympic program. Anyone know what happened with that vote?
They quit some male sports, like taekwondo or something like that.
Yep, so the IOC always sort of has revised its program. So most recently before this one was the decision to include rugby sevens and to include golf in the Olympic program from 2016. So thumbs up for which one?
Golf.
Golf, yep. Again, quite a controversial decision. How many people think golf belongs in the Olympic Games? One. How many people think golf perhaps doesn't belong in the Olympic Games?
Zero.
So why not for golf?
Making money.
So it's seen as being a very professional sport, although we've seen the Olympics have abandoned amateurism and tennis players, basketball players.
I think golf is a leisure sport, if you don't mind saying that, where you see the cricket is more of an old or an ancient sport.
So it's about
it's all the where it comes from.
So again, it's a popular again, there's debate about a whole lot of sport. What's a sport, what's not there. Why else might golf have had some critics?
I don't think 900 people are going to be playing.
So it's whether the best players will play, whether you'll get, will it be seen as prestigious? Because in most sports, an Olympic medal is the highest honour possible. In others, for instance, tennis, if Andy Murray hadn't won in London, I'm not sure how many people would know who the Olympic tennis champion was, compared to, say, knowing the Wimbledon champion or the US Open. So there was debates about that. Why do you think golf is a good case for being in the Olympic Games?
Because it's a popular sport.
So it's a very popular sport, certainly in terms of media. And that's really important. Television likes it, sponsors like it. It's also as a participation sport. Far more people play golf than probably most sport on the Olympic calendar. So that's good. And certainly any other pluses for golf? I mean, it's quite interesting, the debate. The opponents have said it's too commercialised, it's not, perhaps, it's not going to be hard. But also some said, well, it's another kind of very Eurocentric sport, that it's very American-dominated and European-dominated, which is an interesting argument because I think it only looks at men's golf. I think in women's golf, I imagine the Olympic Games will be the biggest issue in women's, even for the professional golfers, because that will give us, status beyond women's golf. We might see as kind of a fairly minority sport in terms of media coverage. That has the potential to really expand that. Also, women's golf is far more globalised, perhaps, in terms of where the players come from. A lot of the leading players are from East Asia, which is only slowly coming into men's golf. And rugby sevens, and Stephen Baines might tell you a little bit about the campaign to get rugby sevens into the games, because he was at the CEO of the IOC, not the IOC, sorry, the International Rugby Board, when they started that process. He was one of the people making that decision, which is very, rugby was in the Olympic Games and actually chose not to continue in the Olympic Games in the early 20th century, in the 1920s. So that had been the previous decision, but at the recent, the IOC said they were going to invite one new sport to the program, and they had again a selection process. However, they also decided that they were going to remove one sport.
Football.
Not football. Football's interesting in the Olympics. Why is football different from other sports in the Olympics?
No, the reason I said football, because it's with what's happening with Qatar in 2022. They're trying to bring the game towards the winter, which is going to clash with the Olympics. And I think that football, are they going to be a bit knackered by that time to get to the World Cup 2022?
Yeah,
that was the reason why the debate is started now, moving the football, which is going to be...
I think that's about the Winter Olympics, and it's not the same athletes, but it's about media coverage